All right, before we get started today, let's make sure that we are actually live. Oh, looks like it says I am live. And I can see it says I'm live and I can see ourselves on the page. Awesome. All right, ladies and gentlemen, want to welcome you guys to RafiChowdhury.com, where we share stories of really creative entrepreneurs, business professionals, marketers, all sorts of really amazing people. And today we have an exceptionally talented guest, 16-year-old Samuel Smith. And
Oh,
Samuel Smith is actually the youngest person that we've ever had on this show. At the rightful age of 16, Samuel is a professional who negotiates large commercial real estate deals. He's a passionate 16-year-old who's committed to serving and growing. He's an entrepreneur at heart, starting businesses from the age of 8, before I even learned how to walk. Most of you guys were still learning how to talk properly, and went from selling popcorn buckets to negotiating large commercial real estate deals. Although after feeling that he was unfulfilled, he realized that his true passion was in serving people, something that we all say that we want to do, but some of us does it better than others. Some of us do it at the age of 16, and others start at 46, but that's okay. Um, so after months and months of searching and soul searching, he created an online business which has the sole purpose of making a difference in people's lives. And I wanted to welcome you guys to join me today on this live hangout as we dig deeper into Samuel's life and all of his success and his passions. Samuel, welcome to the show.
thank you so much, Rafi.
Sweet, man. So happy that you joined us. Tell us a little bit more about yourself besides what I shared. Who are you? What are you passionate about? How'd you find this passion? How'd you get started? What do you do?
Yeah, so like I said, I have some really amazing parents, and ever since we were really little, like they had always been involved in like real estate, and so I just grew up around the entrepreneur spirit and just always getting to be around that, and it was really fun for me, and I always wanted to be like my parents or be like my dad, and I was like, okay, so we started selling like popcorn. That was my first little business that I had, and we went around to our grandmother's neighborhood and just started selling those. And eventually that turned into fixing iPhones and going and talking with people and like, hey, I made a business card and here, you want me to fix your phone? And so it was really interesting. And then one day my parents got introduced to Tony Robbins and they went to a UPW and they came back and it totally shifted their lives. My dad became a platinum partner, and their relationship was not the best. It was really, I didn't have a lot of peace at home, and
Hmm.
it went from that to being, they had at that point been married for about 20 years.
Okay.
Now they have an incredible, passionate relationship, and it's really a beauty. And that they've almost been together 30 years. They met in high school,
Wow.
so it's really incredible. And after that, they ended up taking me and my three siblings to UPW. And at that first UPW, I got my hands on Money Master the Game, which was Tony Robbins' book. And I read that, and then I signed up for his newsletter, and I eventually learned about Dean Graziosi and how he teaches people to wholesale real estate. And so I like bought a bunch of stuff and went out and really took action. And that's something I've been really passionate about is just taking action and making sure that like fear doesn't get in the way, and I just don't have the paralysis of analysis. Um,
Gotcha.
and so I took action and I started doing that. And I realized it was kind of difficult at 13 to go up to people like, "Hey, can I buy your house?" And so it was really fun. And I eventually learned a smarter way to do it, where I would find people that worked to wholesale the deals, and I would then connect them with people that were looking to buy, and I get a share of their fee. And so I used that, and it took me from um, connecting people in single family homes to then multifamilies to then hotels and office buildings all around the world. And
Mm.
so that was really amazing for me, and I did that for about 2 years. And I made over like 700 connections on LinkedIn and a lot of people, and just got to really connect with some awesome people and have a ton of conversations. I like Rafi, we were talking on Monday, and he was saying how he was cold calling all the time to figure out stuff and get clients. And I know that feeling so much. Like, I called so many people off the phone. I called people off of Craigslist. They're like, hey, I want to buy houses. And so um, I just really, it built up my confidence. And I just learned a whole lot through having a lot of conversations with people and learning. And so after that, I did that for about 2 years, and I was in some really amazing deals. And the thing was, something didn't feel right. Like, I was taking hundreds and hundreds of hours of action, but the thing was, something didn't like sit right with me, and I didn't know what that was. And I'd realized that, and also during all of this, I've been a all A student and had to be, because my parents, that's the standard that they hold us to. And so I was stressed out 2 years, and it
Mm-hmm.
was my mom was always like, you have to enjoy being like 13, 14. And I didn't really like want to listen to that, because I was like, hey, I can make all this money and stuff. And so I was so caught up in that and just doing and doing and doing that I eventually just got burnt out. And so that was I think that was last year. And so, or yeah, like, well, 2017 was last year. So, um, yeah, after that, I just took a step back, and I was like, what's my intention? Like, what am I wanting to create?
Mm-hmm.
And I realized, and I just took a step back and really saw that I was focusing on the money. And that to me was really driving me, because I wanted to have a cool car and live in a cool place and be able to just travel around the world and have a lot of opportunities. And I just saw that money was the way to do that. And now, after that, I realized that the real thing, that it's not about the money. It's really about you and your passion and what your purpose is. And for me, that's serving people and really just using all of the all my parents' mentors that we've learned from and that have taught them, and in essence taught me as well, because through my parents. And my parents are also incredible individuals, and they're now coaches. My dad's an executive coach for one of the most um, a really, really incredible company that works with executive coaches in business. And my mom works with relationships, after their relationship going from 20 years being like a hassle, and they're being like more like business partners. And that moved more into a really past. It's like they had another honeymoon, and it really reignited their marriage. And so they go around and teach and really just provide impact
Mm-hmm.
for other couples.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome, man. Let's back up a little bit here to the
All right.
beginning. So where are you based out of, Samuel? Tell us that.
Oh yeah, I'm out of Tyler, Texas.
Tyler, Texas. That's
Yeah.
awesome, man. So you're 8 years old, right? And when you start selling the popcorn, so you're going around selling popcorn.
Yeah.
How did you know that if you took popcorn, something that you kids enjoy, like when they're watching a movie, and you offered that to someone, how did you get the idea in your head that they were going to buy this from you?
Well, it was actually, I think, Christmas break or something
Mhm.
like that, and I just like wanted to make some money, and so I was like, Dad, how do we make some money? Like, I want to make some money.
Mhm.
And so he's like, we can go to the store, we can like buy some popcorn and like put together some little gift baskets that you can sell around in your grandmother's neighborhood. And I was like, oh yeah, that sounds great. And
Mhm.
so we went and bought this stuff with me and my brother, and we started walking around with a little a red rob, or what's it called, like a little
Okay.
pulley cart.
Part,
And
yeah.
yeah, and had all of the stuff in there, and we went
Yeah.
door to door selling them. And I had one guy, we were like, "Hey, you want some popcorn?" and his old guy, and he just slammed the door in my face, and I was just like, whoa. And so, yeah, that was my first kind of shock to the real world a little bit. But it ended up we made $160, and then I realized you had to take out the expenses, and then you had to split it because my brother was doing it, and that was like terrible. I was like, no.
That's awesome, man. Did your dad eat about 30% of the popcorn and teach you about taxes?
Uh, yeah, yeah. It's like we're the bank. We paid for it, and I was like, oh no,
Fair
I
enough,
don't like the
man.
bank.
Yeah.
So
So you're selling popcorn and you're 8 years old and you learned your first skills. You learned how to have a business partner. You've kind of learned what it means to get rejected in a sale. Now, what was your next business after that? You mentioned it earlier, but can you elaborate a little
yeah.
bit more? How did you go from one to the
So I had
next?
a few little things off and on, but the next bigger thing that I had was fixing iPhones and different tablets and stuff. I just Googled how to fix a phone and used my phone as my test dummy,
Mhm.
and just followed YouTube and bought like $100 kit, which was like a lot of money for me,
Mhm.
and just took action. Like, yeah.
Okay. How did you get your clients for that? Whose phones did you fix? How did you know there was a market for that?
Well, I saw like people all at school and stuff, and they had broken screens, and a lot of the people around, it costed them like $200 to fix their phone, and I was like, "What are you talking about? You can buy one off of a screen off of Amazon for $30 and fix it in 10 minutes." And I was like, "I see, there's a big opportunity there." So I went on Fiverr and I got
Mhm.
found somebody that could make like some business cards, and I paid him $5 and I got like a bunch of business cards and I printed them out, and I went and started handing them out and getting like these little holders and trying to give them to restaurants that would allow it and just handing them out to people. So yeah,
Interesting. And people would call you and say, "Hey, can you fix my phone? This is my problem. How much will it
yeah,
cost?" You became like a technician for cell phones, huh?
yep.
Interesting. How old are you at this point?
I'm 16. Oh yeah, no,
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. When you
yeah,
started the phone business.
yeah, no. Back then it was probably 11 or 12,
Okay, gotcha.
maybe
Got
13.
not a whole lot of difference here, but, but a
Yeah,
little bit earlier. Gotcha. Okay, cool. So you're selling fixing cell phones and things like that. Now you mentioned a website a second ago, Fiverr. Those of you guys that are not aware of Fiverr, it is a freelancing website that started basically with you can hire people just for $5 and they'll do all sorts of cool things for you. Create cartoons, like fix your videos. You can like have your like audio transcribed into text. You can create a graphic design. You can hire graphic designers, developers, all for $5. And today the website is a lot larger. There are transactions that are happening there like at $5,000, $6,000 at a time. Definitely check that website out. Those of you guys that are new to the business world and you need things done, you can't afford to hire people. Fiverr, Fiverr.com is an amazing resource as Samuel figured out just a few years ago, and it's improved quite a bit since then. So Samuel, so cell phones and fixing, and you're 12, 13 years old. What's next? How did you get into the real estate? Was that the next venture, or did you have anything in between?
well, so as I said, I've always been growing up with real estate, and
Okay.
my parents like they bought Cash Flow and Rich Dad Poor Dad from Robert
Right.
Kiyosaki,
Yep.
and Robert Kiyosaki actually made like a cash flow for kids, and we started playing that a whole lot. And any parents out there that
Mm-hmm.
want to teach their kids some money and stuff, and how to go negate expenses with profit and passive income, that is an amazing thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, also, and so then also we had my parents had allowed us to invest in some of their rental properties, and obviously we couldn't like pay for a rental property at like 8 or 9 or 10, so we used like 1%. We bought like 1% of the house, and
Mm-hmm.
I took out a loan and started getting like $10 a month without having to work, and I thought that was the coolest thing. I was like, I don't have to work and get $10 a month, and that was so cool for me.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So your parents were pretty much the catalyst to you getting into real estate.
Definitely.
All right. So tell us a little bit more. I know that you know your main venture, I think still right now, is you negotiating these deals with these larger companies, right? So how did you go about doing that exactly? Like you found a buyer, you found a seller, and you facilitated that transaction. How did you find the buyer? How did you find the seller?
Hmm. So, right, it's not my purpose right now. Like that
Okay,
was,
sorry. Yeah, you
yeah, yeah.
mentioned right
But
before.
whenever I was doing that, essentially I just cold called and contacted people on LinkedIn that said hotel brokers, and I realized that um, brokers, they had put in the long hours and all sorts of stuff to develop relationships with buyers. It was especially difficult to find buyers and pick them up on the phone and get to talk with the principal and the person that was making the decision. So I saw that the easiest way to do that was to get the next man up. And
Mm-hmm.
so I found that person, and then I also went and found a guy that had connected all the sellers.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I just connected them two, and we created all sorts of stuff.
That's awesome. That's amazing, man. So eventually you moved out of the real estate field as well, and you moved on to the internet space. How did
Mm-hmm.
that transition happen? How did you know that the internet was your next move?
Well, I just felt that it was the right thing to do. It didn't, like as I said, I felt burnt out, and I got a hold of ClickFunnels and saw that that was really amazing, and I got all excited and read all of Russell Brunson's books,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, so now I'm in the process of still creating that now, and I'm really just wanting to serve people, and I'm still creating the best way to do that and what really aligns with me. And it's interesting because beforehand I was really all about go 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 and we got to do this quick and just to the point and efficient. And now it's a lot different. Like I don't feel the need to do that, and it's just what my soul purpose, like my soul and my passion and my purpose is on this earth to do. And so and I see that that's serving people, and I'm finding the best way to do that. And I see right now, actually, that's how I met you, Rafi. I see that just connecting people and seeing like people that are great, an expert in marketing or an expert in PR like yourself, and seeing what needs they might have, and just connecting them out of just giving. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's been really cool.
That's amazing, man. That's absolutely amazing. I'm so glad that you did reach out to me over Facebook. Now, tell me a little bit. You mentioned ClickFunnels and you mentioned Russell Brunson. How did you run into that, and what has that done for your business? And tell us a little bit more about what that is.
Yeah, so ClickFunnels is essentially like WordPress and all of the crazy stuff that it takes to like get clients and create funnels and have a product and actually sell it.
Mm-hmm.
And it essentially puts all of it into one place where it's so easy and so efficient and like elementary to learn and
Mm-hmm.
use. And it essentially creates your whole business, and you have hundreds and thousands of people that they use ClickFunnels, and they also help other people to get their ideas out and just create.
That's awesome. That's amazing, man. So those of you guys that are not aware of what is this software that Samuel was talking about, so ClickFunnels is basically a SaaS company, software as a service company, and essentially what it does is just imagine building out an entire website with pages and pages and all the backend functionalities and all these things and creating your product and getting traffic to it via search engines and all this stuff. ClickFunnels basically tries to solve that problem by letting you drag and drop almost like Wix or Squarespace type of a model. You can just basically drag and drop pre-existing templates for everything and just create sales copy or to basically writing that you need to sell a product, create videos, testimonials, and everything all together in one bundled place, basically, so that any product that you want to launch and you want to quickly get out there, somebody else has already done something very similar, and ClickFunnels has already put a lot of those templates in there. So all you have to do is choose a template, change out the dummy content to your content, put your client testimonials in there, put your videos in there, and walks you step by step, page by page, how to do that and launch pretty much any product, any informational product, any physical product, anything like that in a matter of simply just days. It's a very, very efficient software, and it leverages for the most part Facebook traffic to get you traffic to your landing pages and your websites and things like that, which is something a lot of you guys might be struggling with. Is you figure out, okay, I launched a website, how do I get traffic to it? Oh, SEO, I got to create content for 6 years before I see a single visitor. Well, now you can get traffic very easily from Facebook and from display networks using these models such as ClickFunnels and things like that. So definitely check it out if you haven't gotten a chance to look into some of the ClickFunnels stuff. And the most valuable aspect of ClickFunnels, I'm sure Samuel will agree, is the training that Russell gives on that site on like behavioral economics, customer journeys, how to sell the product, how to do upsells, downsells, cross sales, the value ladder. These are very, very important concepts to know, even if you don't use the ClickFunnels platform. I do think the training itself is very relevant to anybody selling anything, anywhere, to be honest with you. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, definitely.
Awesome. So ClickFunnels, and you're building out your platform there. So what's your core business there with ClickFunnels? What exactly will you be selling, and what will you be doing?
So I've been creating different courses, and but I've really seen that I'm still in the process of creating that and really finding what my niche is, because once I find that, then I can really use what we've learned, and I think that would be something to the tune of courses, a coaching service, and being
Okay.
able to coach youth, because I really see that there's a huge market to be able to serve youth, and like with all the like depression and not really just being happy about life and not really wanting to do that. And I really see that there's a huge possibility to serve there. And yeah, and also just helping parents be able to really relate to their children and see how they might see things, and
Yeah.
be able to really use um, use their influence so that they can become the best that they can be.
Awesome. That's amazing, man. That's absolutely amazing. So I know there's a lot of people that are probably going to be watching this, that are maybe they have a corporate job, maybe they have some sort of side thing they might have tried to start, or they want to start something. You're pretty much a prime example of, like, you don't really need a lot of money. You don't really need, to be blogging for 6 years before you get traffic to your website. You don't really need any business ideas and things like that. You just need to somehow create value for somebody by solving a pain point, and then
Yep.
try to figure out how can you get that person to pay you for that, right? That's
And the biggest
ultimately what
thing,
it is.
and the biggest thing is taking action, because you can like have all these ideas and all this different stuff,
Yeah.
but the one thing that I see is the most important is actually taking action.
Absolutely. I totally agree. So what advice would you give to somebody that's kind of stuck in doing some sort of day job they don't really enjoy, and they want to somehow get something off the ground on the side, and then eventually the goal for them might be to make that a full-time thing for them. What would your recommendation be, and how they can get started? What are some
So I think the first thing
steps?
would be, what are they really passionate about, and what are they committed to? Are they committed to paying the bills? Or, well, everybody's committed to paying bills. You have to.
Sure.
It's just, how are you going to do that? Are you going to do that through you doing something that you don't like, or is it going to be through you doing something that you love and that you're passionate about? And it may not have the same amount of money, although if you're so passionate about that and that's your purpose, the money will come automatically. And so my recommendation would be for people to just look inside themselves and see what they really want to do. And like, if they want to be a musician, they can start that on the side, and then find a smart way, work smart, not harder.
You're right.
Use that to, like, hey, I can make you a cool music for a few bucks. Or I just see that taking action and starting something, even if it's not what your end goal is going to be, will create something. And that'll lead to something else, which will lead to something else, and you'll end up creating something that will allow you to um, drop your job.
Gotcha. Now, at what point do you know to quit your job and do your hustle to full time? What's your approach to that?
Hmm. I see that. I think you'll know, and you'll know inside. Like, that's my answer, and I also see that whenever um, you can pay the expenses that you have using that second source.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. That's awesome, man. That's something that I can relate to as well. The approach that I took, for the longest time, at least. I mean, I've been in business for about 6 years now, and I had many jobs during this time. Up until like year four, and for me, it was basically like, the way I looked at it is that if my ventures produce income that was, at least 1.5 times more than what I was making currently, that's when I could safely say, okay, I can now make a switch and do this full time. And even then, a couple of times, I went into doing something full time, and then I realized halfway down that this wasn't a model that was sustainable. I ended up having to do it start part time and then take up a job again. So a lot of you guys might be thinking that there's some sort of I don't know, some sort of crossing of the Holy Grail or something like that that happens when you make that switch. There are plenty of times where you will actually quit your job and do something and then realize it's not working out and have to go back to your job. And that's totally fine. Just keep hustling away, keep at it, keep growing it, and think about how can you automate things and how can you generate, like Samuel said many times, revenue that's sort of passive, that are not really taking up your time and your efforts on a daily basis, but that are sort of like systems that tend to run by themselves, maybe with other people. Maybe you run the systems by creating sort of basically processes that can be governed by other people and different types of businesses. So that's one thing that I would recommend. And apart from that, what I would say also is that, don't end up quitting your job too early either, because that could be a problem as well. For a lot of people, I've noticed, they go all in on it. You still have to pay your bills, like Samuel said, and we all have expenses. One of the common mistakes that I think a lot of people make, and I made this mistake plenty of times myself, is that I just quit something too early and try to devote my full time into something. But if you can't figure out how you're going to be taking care of yourself, you really wouldn't be able to, spend time in your business. Really, you have to have yourself taken care of as well. So besides that, Samuel, so lead us on to the next phase at this point. How did you learn all of this? Is there certain books that you read? Is there podcasts you listen to? How did you get the knowledge for all this? Start your stuff.
So, Tony Robbins was a big part of it, and really just getting the mindset of taking action. And I went to a really cool course called the Create Powerful course, which is part of Ontacore, which is my dad's company that he works with
Mm-hmm.
and coaches with. And so I read for online marketing. I definitely recommend Russell Brunson's books like .com Secrets and Expert Secrets. Those are
Mm-hmm.
incredible books to give you some ideas and start getting you thinking in the mindset of internet marketing. And that was really cool for me.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So you're talking about books and podcasts and Russell Brunson's book, .com Secrets. Are there any people that you follow, or any kind of entrepreneurs or any people in your personal life maybe that you've been following that are good, really good examples of how you got into all of this?
Well, I'd have to say that the biggest person in entrepreneurship is my dad. That's
Okay.
been the biggest example for me, and he's been in Wall Street, amazing real estate, business, and also coaching and all sorts of stuff, and it's really been inspiring for me.
That's awesome, man. I think you're sort of lucky in in the way that your dad was, kind of in the same line of work that you do, and he's a good example for you to follow. And those of you guys that don't have that sort of example to follow, you can definitely reach out to other people's dads, right? You can reach
Yeah,
out to
all
Samuel's
the
dad,
time.
sure. If even Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, he didn't really learn any of that from his own dad. He learned it from his friend's dad, really, right? The
Hmm.
rich dad. So even
Yeah,
if you don't have your family members that are leading you an example, you can certainly reach out to other people, influencers, just like Samuel was talked about earlier.
yeah,
And if you can provide value to them,
mhm.
right?
Yeah. Just look for it's really amazing because people that have already achieved that, they realize that there's only so much they can do. So what they're going to do is they're going to give back and they're going to give content. So I'd say read a whole lot. Just keep learning. That's been something really big for me.
Mm-hmm.
Robert Kiyosaki's awesome. Russell Brunson, Tony Robbins. Um, and also another really amazing guy is Dr. Joe Dispenza. He's got some really incredible work, and that's part of what's really been awesome for me, and just really made a big difference for me.
That's awesome, man. That's amazing. So a lot of studying, a lot of reading and mentorship and reaching out. I think that's something that I would recommend too, is reaching out to tons of influential people and like every young entrepreneur, especially like your age, um, should be just like hitting their, like their message inbox limit on a daily basis, reaching out to people and trying to figure out how they can provide value to them. Because ultimately, like there's a common misconception. We tend to have this idea in our head that the people that uh, like if you do a lot of things for somebody, that they're gonna love you a lot, right? Because you've done so much for them. But the reality of is that like the people that do a lot of things for you are probably gonna be the people that love you the most, just because they've invested a lot into you. So if you can get, successful people to invest in you by, getting them to do things for you, in return you do something for them, the more investment that you get in on yourself from that person, the more they're going to want to do for you as well. And just because they're going to feel like, hey, this is somebody that I've invested a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of efforts into, so your well-being becomes more of a priority in their life than it would be if you just keep doing things for them. Then it's kind of the other way around. So I think it's a really important thing to keep in mind, is that if you can get people to do something for you, help you somehow, even if it's little favors, it actually strengthens the bond between you and that person, just because you've gotten them to now invest in you. So that's why it's really, really important that while you're, I shared this actually on Forbes the other day, and the importance of building influencer relationships. And I said that, a common mistake a lot of people tend to make, especially passionate people such as ourselves, is that we constantly try to help people out, right? Even people that are like very, very small, starting out. And if you are one of the people that's just starting out, you may not have the ability to help a whole bunch of other people like yourselves, but you could potentially help like people that are already successful, that can give you that kind of a opportunity. So instead of just focusing all of your energy and assets on helping out people that are in the same stage as you, try to see if you can partner up and work with people that are a couple of steps ahead of you, because they actually do have the ability to help you, and to kind of really be able to take your ideas to the next level, whereas the people that are below you may not be the right fit, and a lot of times you can get dragged down with them as well. So once you become to a point where you've kind of already achieved something and you're several steps ahead, then you can start reaching out to the people that are several steps below and start helping them out when you're stable yourself. Would you agree with that, Samuel? What
Yeah,
would you?
definitely. I see that. Look for people that have already achieved what you want to achieve, and
Yeah.
find a way to um, learn from them. And
Right.
proximity is power, and it's really incredible just being with people. And like Rafi, he's got an incredible, successful business in PR and with incredible connections. And just really reaching out to people that you think are really inspiring to you. And yeah, just create through that. And I
Mm-hmm.
see that really, if you just continue giving and just keep giving, it's going to come back. It's the law of attraction. If
Mm-hmm.
if you give something, something has to come back. And that's really what I believe is being. If you see somebody that is where you want to be, reach out to them, and if they tell you to do something, do that, because that's kind of like a test for them. If they are quite busy and they have probably a lot of people reaching out to them wanting to be mentored.
Mm-hmm.
But what'll set you out is if they say, okay, go read this book. You go read that book and say, hey, I read the book. Come back to them and say, what now? What now? So what they're doing is they are showing you their road
Mm-hmm.
to their success and what they see to be the most valuable thing for them. And so
Mm-hmm.
once you just follow what they say, then they'll build trust and find a way to add value to them
Mm-hmm.
so that you can give to them. And then they will then feel that they want to give back to you.
Yep. It's a golden piece of nugget right there, is that you can't just keep asking, help me, help me, help me, blah blah blah, and blame them if they don't. What's in it for them? You have to make it win-win. Negotiations and dealing is not. I'm sure Samuel understands it far better than I would. Is that when negotiating is not a bad thing. People think of negotiations as like a negative thing, like you're trying to make it a win-loss. It's actually a win-win. It's just figure out a way that you can help somebody and they can help you, and it's a plus point for both sides. So try to always think about like ways you can negotiate mentorship from people that are much above where you are at currently. And I do definitely agree that's a huge thing. Without a really solid mentor, you're kind of playing life. You're kind of taking it like from the start to the end. Whereas if you have a mentor, you can kind of see this hindsight 2020 almost in your own life.
And also, it really opens your horizons.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't really realize the limits you set for yourself until you see somebody else that's achieved what you want to achieve, and be with them and listen to them and see how they talk and what they believe. Because you've got your own set of beliefs, if you realize it or not, on what you believe is possible, and they have their own that they believe is possible. And so, closing that gap, you close that gap on what your beliefs are,
Mm-hmm.
the more you are with them and the more you learn from them. And
Yeah.
just being around them too. That just you become who you're around. And that's definitely why you see peer pressure is such a big thing,
Mm-hmm.
because you feel pressured to do that, to be cool or different stuff. And it's like, even on an energetic level,
Mm-hmm.
you become who you're around.
Totally agree. Even from a financial standpoint, I think there's some sort of a rule out there, like a general rule of thumb, that if you take the 5 people that you spend your most amount of time with, and you take the average income that they make, that's probably very close to how much money you make.
Yep.
And so it applies on a financial level as well, not just energetic level, or in terms of like just activities and actions. Even financially, hanging out, being around people that are successful, will somehow just kind of, tends to kind of rub off on you as well. And I've noticed that in, plenty of people, like successful people, when I reach out to them, I see the 5 people they spend time with are also the same type of people. So it's really important that you get yourself into that group. So Samuel, so what does your future look like? You're only 16 years old and you've already seems like achieved a ton of stuff. What are the next few years looking like for you?
Well, I really am committed to serving as many people as possible, and um, like, I really want to serve like 100 million people
Mm-hmm.
by 30 or however. And I just see that fulfilling my purpose and going and really serving a lot of people and really making a difference for them and helping them see and create the life that they really want. And because I found what works for me in order to create the life I want, and I want to help other people do that as well.
That's awesome, man. Very, very awesome goals. I think you're certainly on your way to achieving that. And if you have any questions and things like that, I'm sure you've got plenty of mentors that can kind of show you how that's definitely possible to do. Cool, buddy. We really enjoyed having you. My last question is, I'm huge into reading and stuff like that too. Um, I think you kind of mentioned earlier also that there are some Russell Brunson books and stuff like that. Anything else that you wanted to share that you think would be like the most valuable things that we can do right now if we want to take action? Like what would you say? Anything else you want to add?
I really see that just taking action is a really big thing. And if you
Mhm.
take action, things are just going to fall in place and you're going to learn a whole lot of stuff. And learn that failing, it's not failing. It's just you really learning what to do so that you can fail better the next time and
Mhm.
learn more so that you can eventually succeed. Um, and yeah, if you guys have any questions about anything, you can shoot me an email.
Mhm.
My email is connectwithsamuel@gmail.com.
Mhm.
Just shoot me a quick email and I'll be sure to respond to it. And yeah, that'd be awesome.
Awesome. Samuel's also very active on Facebook, and I'll put his email on Facebook below in the comments section of the video. Thank you guys so much again. I really enjoyed having you guys join. Thank you, Samuel, obviously for coming on the show and sharing your insights. Very successful entrepreneur, guys. He's 16 years old. He's done a ton of stuff. Before this call, me and Samuel had a long conversation where he actually gave me some insights into my business and my life, even outside of business. And I think he's a very, very mature individual for only 16 years of age. And I mean, I learned a ton of stuff from you, man. So I'm sure there's a ton of value to bring to anybody that you work with, on a business level, on a personal level. I highly encourage you guys to reach out to Samuel. Great guy, amazing friend to have. And thank you guys again for joining us. We'll see you guys in the next show.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much. And thank you, Rafi.
No, you're welcome.